Hi, guys.
Uh-oh.
This is from, oh, what's going on?
I don't know.
Hi,
Your voice broke up.
hi, guys. This is Cody from Comic Shot Authority, and I'm here with Drew, right?
Geraci. Geraci.
Geraci.
Geraci, yeah.
Oh, right. Geraci, is that it? Is that your name?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Geraci. Sorry.
Yeah,
Well,
that's okay.
Geraci, and he's
It's
going to tell us
impossible.
a little bit about his experience at Marvel and just some things he's done over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to let you just get started.
Well, shoot me. What you interested in
Uh,
most?
yeah, tell us a little bit how everything goes down at Marvel, like the process.
You know what? It's changed a bit, but it used to be the editors used to have a lot more say in what goes on, and now they'll get new writers off of Twitter and stuff like that, and the editors won't necessarily edit as much. They sort of just let things follow through and see if it works or doesn't, and that's kind of odd because you get mixed results. You get some great comics, you get some crappy comics. But I mean, when I worked on Thor for the last 5 issues of Dan Jurgens' run around 2004, and then I worked with Robert Kirkman on Captain America
Oh,
before he was the Robert Kirkman, and
right.
that was the next year, and we were so stoked about it. Me and Scott Eaton and my former mentor, Dave Johnson, the cover artist, he did the
Mm.
covers on those issues, and only thing that really pissed me off was that we did like we were ready to do those 4 issues, and those Wednesday that our first of the 4 issues came out, it was announced on all the comic sites that Brubaker and Epting were going to relaunch Cap with #1. So that totally cannibalized our sales. Because people were like, "Oh, these 4 issues, they're not going to matter. They're just killing time." And we sort of were, but you don't say that. I
Right.
wish I had waited, till after a week or two. But and Steve Epting's a good friend of mine, and so I had no qualms about him. But it's like I don't know why they did that. Maybe they're so eager to feed promotional stuff. They don't always think of repercussions on current sales that go on. Because then, like I said, we didn't. We did a great job. It's been reprinted a few times. It was a Marvel Knights Captain America trade paperback that came out about 2 years ago, and it reprinted some of the Chris Bachalo stuff with Christopher Priest, and also we were tucked in there as well. So it was a story with Cap's old flame Diamondback, and Kirkman hit all the points in Captain America that should be like he had Batroc the Leaper, he had Hydra, he had the Serpent Squad, he had Diamondback, and he had Nick Fury. So it was such fun. Sort of had that Tales of Suspense feel to it, and Red Skull, of course. So why not?
Right.
And that was a ball.
Right. Well, wow. You got a lot of things going on.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
It sounds fun. I just got a question about Stan Lee. It was like, did you get to meet Stan Lee, or did he come through periodically and check on y'all? Like, what was
um
his role in the company anymore?
oh well, he gosh, I mean he moved to L.A. in the late '70s to get do promotional stuff. Like they kept trying to get like a Spider-Man movie or a Cap movie off the ground. And back then they were sort of settling for some of these smaller studios that really, you'll find bootlegs of some of the crappy stuff like the Captain America movie in 1990. But I did. I mean, he was long gone, but I did run into him at San Diego Con in 1995. I went to a panel, and it was him, Joe Sinnott, the guy who inked Jack Kirby for decades, and Marie Severin, and some others, and Gene Colan. So he had these legends up there, and Mark Evanier he worked the panel. He's a longtime friend of Kirby, and he writes for TV. But Stan, I was so happy because he was everything I wished he was. He was charming. He was off the cuff. He was just very enthusiastic, but he wasn't overdoing it. He wasn't like a hard sell. You could just tell he loved what he did, and is so grateful to have worked with all these great talents. And he just seemed. I felt like you ever run into somebody, and you feel like your family right away. Like you just hit it off really good. I mean,
Yes.
it doesn't happen very often. But I was like, he could be like my cool uncle if if we
Right.
were in the same family. So it hit it made me feel it was just exactly as I imagined him since I was 8 years old.
Oh, right.
So
I would love to meet. Well, I wish I could have met Stan Lee.
yeah, yeah. I got a picture with him, but that was it. I mean, my wife took a photo of me and him, and then me and Joe Sinnott and a few others. But yeah, it's a great picture. I'll have to post that again. It's on my Facebook. But I had these yuppie glasses, and I just look kind of goofy. But Stan looks like Stan. But yeah, that was nice. I always had this really silly fantasy as a kid, saying like, up from Pittsburgh where it gets real snowy, and especially in the '70s, they were actually talking about a possible ice age in the cover of Time magazine, and now it's global warming, and I don't know whatever's going on. But
Right.
I had this because a lot of times schools would be closed for if there was too much snow, and I always had this dream like Stan's car would break down in our neighborhood, and my parents would take him in and put him in the guest room, and he would regale me with stories about comics for and until like 11 and till late in the night or something like that. But so going to the San Diego show was sort of a delayed payoff.
Yeah,
So
that's always been a fantasy of mine too, for like just to sit down and hear Stan Lee read you a comic book.
yeah.
Because I've
So
watched a lot of documentaries of him just talking, and his voice is just like volume to my ears. It's so soothing.
yes, it
Well, I shouldn't
is.
say volume. It's the kind of, I guess, like an angel pouring honey in your ear, I guess would be a better term.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's so relaxing.
yeah. It's like the herbal tea,
Yeah,
spiked with 5 hour energy. So
right.
because I had a friend who Dusty Abel, who I inked a lot in the late '90s. I inked him on 3 issue Legends of the Dark Knight. I did him on with a 4 issue Elseworlds of Superman, Wonder Woman, with Chris Claremont, and oh man, I know I had a point about this. We're talking about. Uh, oh, he worked with Stanley Media, which was that late '90s business that built up. They were going to use Stan and his ideas and a bunch of artists, and it crashed because the guy who ran the show stole tons of money and left the company. So it collapsed. Basically, he screwed Stan and everybody else over. But Stan came back. But Dusty Abel did some work with Stan, and he said Stan would be there every day. And Dusty and I are like cut from the same cloth, even though he's like a foot taller and he looks like Thor, and he's got this long hair and huge biceps and perfect tan. But he said that they'd go to lunch with Stan sometimes, and he would like leapfrog over parking meters. Like he would do like the stuff that a young guy could do,
Oh,
So,
wow.
and he just said that Stan was just so full of energy for his age. And I guess he was, 70 at the time, but still, I don't think I'll be jumping parking meters when I'm 70.
Oh no, not at
So,
all.
yeah.
Um, so you said you inked a lot of characters. Who was your favorite character to ink?
Yeah, gosh. I got to think back. I was telling somebody the only character I never inked was Daredevil, but I've done, I did some Avengers stuff, and I'm a huge Iron Man fan, but I've only done a little bit of it, and I wasn't really thrilled with the writing and the art. But uh, I got to really think about that. Well, it's probably Birds of Prey, with Chuck Dixon and Greg Land, and then we went over to Nightwing. That was probably when I really felt like I hit that sweet spot, and that's when people were starting to notice me, and people like Bob Layton were coming up to me, and like
Mm-hmm.
I was an equal, and I'm just like this crazy kid who's like, wow, I know Bob Layton now.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned Bob Layton because he
Hmm.
done a story, Demon in a Bottle. And I'm gonna
Hmm.
show you real quick. I actually got to meet Bob Layton.
Mm.
I got him inside this Demon in a Bottle, and hold on, let's see if I can get the picture off the wall.
Nice guy. He's a great guy.
Oh yeah, really, really sweet. And I got the picture. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
To,
No, that's great.
yeah, like this is my favorite story. I'm actually trying to find the book Iron Man, Demon in a Bottle.
I mean, you mean the original? Well, the original like copy, like of the comic itself, not the collections.
Yeah,
Is that
the
what you mean?
actual comic because I can relate to that story a lot because I
Oh
used to be
yeah.
a real heavy drinker
Mm,
and just nothing good ever come from me drinking. Soon as I
yeah.
opened the cap to the bottle, my life just went down.
Yeah.
Just every time something bad would happen.
I can sort of relate because I I'm one of those guys that I don't drink and drive, but if I get a chance to drink, I may slam down like 4 drinks to make up for it. I'll be like, I haven't had a
Hmm.
drink in weeks and weeks and months or whatever. Or I can have like maybe one, but it's like I have this bad habit. If I'm getting the go ahead, I'll just start slamming them, and it's just
Right.
so stupid. It's just so stupid. And
Yeah.
so at least I'm aware of that. I haven't even told her about that because I just kind of came up with it on my own recently, thinking that. So I basically don't, only let's see, only like Mountain Dew is my guilty
Mhm.
pleasure.
Yeah. Red Bull.
Oh
I
yeah,
love my Red Bull now.
oh yeah, oh yeah. So I'm just moving
um,
this around.
have you worked for any? I mean, we're just like
Yeah,
currently right now we're just having a conversation. I want
yeah.
actually
Oh, one
later.
second. I
Like,
want to show you. That's a page that Bob Layton gave me. We traded art. I got a better view of this. It's from the Hercules. It was Marvel Comics Presents. Remember he did the Hercules miniseries? Well, he
yeah.
continued with like a couple issues in Marvel Comics Presents, and he wrote, to my pal Drew, and I'm just like, wow. The way I got that page totally trips me out. We sat next to each other at the Heroes Con. Yeah, Heroes Con back in 2000, and he knew who I was, and he liked my stuff a lot, and so we bonded. I just couldn't believe it. He knew who I was, let alone like my stuff. So we traded pages. I gave him a Birds of Prey page. That was pretty cool. And he got me that Hercules one, and I was just like thrilled. I was just like, wow, to get that kind of respect. And also, my best friend Deerwood and I, we went. We were big on comics together in the neighborhood. Uh, I actually bought those Demon and Bottle issues in real time when they came out, like month to month. And then I'd get the latest Iron Man. Me and my friend Woody would just go over it and over and over it, and just love it. Like we did the space armor, and then what was really cool about Demon in a Bottle is comics were monthly at the time, and and they gradually, like over 8 months, were showing things about Tony, like behaviors that seemed uh, odd, and where before you would just see someone having a drink, there was a time he goes over. Rhodey has to fly him on the helicopter somewhere, and he says just like old times. And then in the foreground, you see Tony pouring a flask, and it's just and all Rhodey says is sort of like the old times, something like that. So they kind of planted that seed to where he might look like Tony has a problem, But they really gave him a what do you call? They gave him a good impetus to. I don't mean a good reason. As storytelling, they kind of led him to a reason why he became the way he did. It was just he had a lot of. I don't want to spoil it for you. You read the whole story yet on Collected or whatever?
I have not.
Oh, okay. Then I won't spoil it for you. But there's a number of really hard things that happen in his life, and a lot of it is the machinations of this one. I'm not going to say who the bad guy is, but it basically breaks Tony down. He sees like all this stuff. I can't even go into it, but it affects his company. And it affects him as Iron Man, as a superhero, like all these different related things. This is before. I mean, that seems old school. I mean, it's been done a million times, but David Abato was still brand new at the time. I mean, that whole thing where, all these little things are getting around him and he just can't take it. Like he'll just have a couple drinks at a party, but then little by little, he was just starting to drown himself with that because he just got presented really hard challenges, like, more than the average superhero. It wasn't just like, oh, I like that girl. Does she like me? It was just very
Mhm.
different. But I really recommend it. It's so good. And also, um, the next Iron Man Marvel Masterworks, they just came out with the last one, which went up to the Bill Mantlo issues around 112. And the next volume they haven't announced yet, but it'll be out in 2020. It's going to go into the Iron Man Demon in a Bottle years, because it'll go right into that. And
Oh wow. I'm
yeah,
gonna have to check that out. Do you have a overhead light? Because it's kind of hard to see you a little bit.
yeah. I was thinking about that. Hold on. Let's see.
Perfect.
Oh, okay. That's good. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
that's better.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what was I gonna ask? Like, Oh yeah, they did a Deadpool story like that
Hmm.
a couple years back, where Mephisto bribed Deadpool into getting Iron Man drunk. So yeah, I don't mean to ruin the story for anybody, but spoiler
Okay,
alert:
that's okay.
Deadpool goes and knocks out Tony Stark and steals the Iron Man suit and gets drunk and comes back to
Oh,
Mephisto.
oh, jeez.
Yeah, because Mephisto said get Iron Man drunk, not Tony Stark drunk.
Oh,
So if you got the Iron Man suit, anybody could be Iron Man.
yeah, yeah.
That was a pretty cool story.
That's pretty
That's where I
bizarre.
first, yeah, that's where I first learned about Demon in a Bottle.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Hmm.
although I have this bad habit of singing Christina Aguilera's "Genie in a Bottle" to it. You're a demon in a bottle. uh,
Right?
but
Um,
well,
yeah. Did you only ink for Marvel, or did you?
I pretty much just inked. You know, I got a lot. I mean, most of my hires were from pencilers who wanted me to work on their stuff, and the editors generally didn't have any qualms about it. So, you know, it's funny. I've been hired and fired by pencilers more the last 20, no, the last 10 years than I was by the editor. So it's just, but it's fortunate. I mean, I go from job to job, and I like the variety. But I've never done Daredevil, and I love Daredevil. You know, he's the
Um,
only Marvel character I haven't done. You know, but
I think what is Jack Kirby's yellow suit? I like that one.
yeah, oh, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool. Well,
Yeah, I think Jack Kirby did the yellow suit Daredevil, correct?
he designed it. He designed it, but he only did some covers, you know, around issue 2, 3, 4, or something like that. But yeah, or he did a first issue cover too. But and then after that, it was Bill Everett, then Wally Wood, and Gene Colan, and John Romita. So he had a really good pedigree of creators. But yeah, I mean, he's just one of my. I liked him since the '70s, way before Frank Miller, because Klaus Janson was inking him, and whoever was penciling Klaus Janson would ink and make it look really badass. I mean,
Mm.
he would ink, you know, Sal Buscema breakdowns and have that grittiness that you would see later on in the Frank Miller issues. And he inked some Gene Colan, Bob Brown early on. And it's so funny because Klaus, basically, he was the one who kept uh, the Daredevil look going. And then when Frank came along, it just was a perfect fit, you know. So and it was cool reading all those in real time. I mean, Daredevil, you know, Daredevil had that grittiness, and Iron Man had that international playboy thing, and the inkers were completely different, but they were appropriate. You know, Klaus did the gritty, and Bob Lake did the shiny. So
Right.
and,
Trying to think of just some more questions because kind of want to save some of the good juicy stuff for our interview.
okay.
Do you just want to give me just kind of like a little bit more of an oversight so I can think of questions to come up with?
Let me see. I Most of my career has been at DC Comics, and in the '90s, I really wanted to work at Marvel. But the weirdest thing was Marvel didn't want to know me for some reason. You know, maybe they had their. Sometimes you have your own stable of creators. You know, certain editors have. I did a couple covers, and I did a few pages for the last issue of Iron Man's Heroes Reborn over Terry Shoemaker, and that was fun. I grew up a Marvel fan, but DC has been the nicest to me, and as far as I had to turn down work, which is, you know, crazy, but a good thing to have. And
Oh,
but I got to do, yeah, in the 2000s. You know, I did part of a Spider-Man Human Torch miniseries by Dan Slott, penciled by Ty Templeton, who's just incredible, and that was fun. It was like a flashback over the last 5 decades of starting off like when Peter Parker was in high school, and then they go the third issue. It has the '70s with the Spider Mobile, and then the '80s. Spidey has the black suit, and then they had the last one was, and I loved. I didn't get. I kind of came in. What do you call it? A bad cleanup, you know, to kind of meet the deadline. So I only did a couple issues, but I was buying that book, and all of a sudden I had to ink it. That's the funny thing is that sometimes if I
wow.
buy a book I love, and then I get a call to do like the, you know, 2 issues down the road, it's cool, but it's also kind of spoilerish, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like it's such a mixed bag, you know, because I was loving it. I was like, okay, I'll be more than happy to do Spidey and Torch because I really hadn't done those guys. I did Torch in a Fantastic Four 40th anniversary comic, and it was drawn by Drew Johnson, and it came out it was a standalone issue, and it was I think Gene Ha did the cover, and it was basically the 40th anniversary, I think, of the FF, but they also sort of made it like looking back on Reed and Sue's a wedding. They sort of treated it like it was the anniversary of their wedding, but they didn't say it was 40 years. And it's a good story. I got to do a few pages of that. So, like I said, I'm sort of the guy they call when they need bailing out, or sometimes somebody will just out and out, hire me for something. But most of my career's been at DC. I used to get DC comps all the time. They would send me a whole box of everything that came out that month.
Oh, wow.
I love that. Well, I mean, I was mostly attracted to, Batman, because he's like the best DC character. And
I totally agree.
yeah, and the thing is, I would get a month worth, so to be, weekly to have Batman, Detective, some other books, and then annuals as well. And I would stack them up, and and then I would. The Superman titles were fun too, because they were. I'm not a huge Superman fan, but that was the Dan Jurgens era, and on the comics, the 4 comics that came out, they had these little triangles on there that would tell you what order to read them. Like if you ended up you didn't get your books, like it would say like 15, 16, 17, but it was like Man of Steel would be 15, Adventures of Superman would be 16. And so when I got the box, I knew how to read them in order, and I love that. And I think Batman did that too, some of the Bat titles, but then I got to do, some Batman stuff as well. I got to do Legends of the Dark Knight with my pal Dusty Abel and Steve Englehart, who's written a lot for Marvel and DC. And what was cool, though, is I got Steve Englehart's number from the editor, and I called him like a fanboy for like an hour because he wrote The Celestial Madonna, he wrote West Coast Avengers, he wrote all this stuff that I loved growing up. He did The Beast, when the Beast first got Harry in 1972, I think. And I just hit him up with all these little questions, and he was more than happy to answer them, because he was pals with like Jim Starlin and a couple others. So he had Tom Warzakowski, the letterer who did X-Men all these years, and he just told me the coolest stories. I just loved it. So yeah. I could be a fanboy for him, because I have this weird thing that I'm working through still, where I always consider people who are in the business a couple years before me to be like the big guns, and I'm just still the new kid.
Yeah.
But then I have people at shows tell me, I grew up on your stuff, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I've been doing this since '95, so that's feasible.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's how I feel. That's how I feel in the comic book world. I've only been collecting for about 8 years now, so I'm kind of playing catch up and figuring everything out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like
what's your favorite?
My favorite book or character?
Yeah, both.
I love Batman, and I'm about to read. I think it's Batman. I'm about to tell you. It's where he goes in the asylum, and all the doctors is from his rogue gallery.
Oh yeah.
I got the book.
Which one it is?
Yeah, I just got this whole stack.
Let's see your Pop Funko figures.
Oh yeah, I'll show you those real quick. I got a bunch of Batman too. Let me see if I can switch this around. Yeah, there we go. See, I got the Batman. That Dark Reign, the Spider-Man Future Foundation.
Oh yeah.
The San Diego Batman. The Diamond Harley Quinn. It's like she's got glitter on her.
Oh, that's so funny.
And Dragon Ball Z. And the Dawnbreaker Batman. And there's some of that.
Wow, I'd forgotten about the Future Foundation Spider-Man costume. That's pretty cool that they made one.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah, my wife has some of those at her office where she works. She likes. No, I can't remember. Dorbs. Dorbs. They're slightly smaller. They got big heads.
I think so. I'd have to see them. The name doesn't really ring a bell.
Yeah. They're Dorbs, which is, I guess, short for adorable. But she's got one of like, she got some of the Guardians of the Galaxy characters and stuff. Let me look real quick over here. 1 second.
Batman Last Night on Earth.
Oh, I don't know which one. I don't think I've seen that one because so many things have come out with Batman. Oh, here we go. I got my Dorbs. A friend of mine, Gary, got me this. He knows I'm a huge Iron Man fan, and can you see it? Okay. I'll give more light.
Oh,
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, yeah. My friend Gary got me that, and my wife has one of Star Lord and some of the other characters. I think Black Panther. So
Yep.
yeah, they're pretty cool.
I got Doctor Strange like that.
Oh wow, that's nice.
Um, Beetlejuice because my girlfriend loves Beetlejuice,
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
and
great.
Mr. Two Face.
I love the color they use.
Oh yeah, I think this is my greatest figure I have. It's Mr. Freeze making a hold on, there we go, making an ice cream cone. Pick that up.
That's too cool. I'm
Hold on, take his
gonna
helmet
have to
off.
look that up.
He's got his tongue out too. Hit.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I picked that up at GameStop. That's probably my favorite one I have.
Yeah, I gotta write that down. Mr. Freeze. Funko. Oh, that's brilliant. Okay. So, so your recording's going okay, or you'll find out later, I guess, when you play it back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. My friend currently gave me this. It's called Batman: The Last Night on Earth, and I haven't read it. I'm gonna read it and do a review on it.
Oh, wow.
And this
Yeah,
one, I didn't even know this book existed.
I didn't know
Uh,
either.
just imagine Stanley. Just imagine
Oh,
Stanley Batman.
yeah, yeah. That came out in the late, that came around 2001 or so. They had a lot of different, they had an issue with Kevin McGuire doing The Flash, and it was a great design and great story. So they're coming out with a trade paperback of those issues, like all 12 issues. They were doing for a year, and they're coming out with either a hardcover or trade paperback. I just saw it in the solicitations, and that's a great idea.
Oh wow! And have you been in the Batman Metal series? I really love that a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you seen the
That's
covers?
They're beautiful. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I currently just got the other four that I was missing.
Oh, sweet. Yeah,
I
that's
think my favorite one it has to be Red Death. The Batman and the Flash, they fused together. Well, it's like a
oh,
flash. It's like a Bat Flash, I guess you could say.
uh, a
Yeah,
flashback, like a flashback.
yeah. I, I'll show
But,
you. I got his Funko Pop, I got his figure, and his comic book. I'm trying to do that.
mhm,
Trying to do a shelf of all the metal series.
mhm.
See it?
Oh,
Yeah.
wow,
I had so much trouble getting this little Funko Pop right here.
wow, that's a cool costume.
There you go.
Wow, that's sweet.
There's that. Let me get that a little closer.
Yeah, man, I love that.
Comics right there behind it. I'll
Mm-hmm.
pull it.
Mm.
It's got a foil cover, so it's kind of hard to.
Wow, yeah, but you got it right. I can see it pretty well. So, oh, Stay Puft the Marshmallow Man.
Oh yeah, I got them both. Slimer.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Got my little
I
Harley
guess,
Quinn
I guess
girly
there's something.
shelf.
Huh? Oh yeah.
Harley Quinn girly shelf, and just Captain America, and just some other randomness.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find
Just
something. Hold on. Oop, I got my cord all
all right.
tangled up. Here we go. Let me show you something else. Yeah, I do have a Funko of Iron Man, and yeah, it's like the traditional one, from
Oh wow,
yeah, the one
that's
from the
that's the old one from like the cartoons and the
yeah.
actual comic books.
Yeah, I mean that's actually when Bob Layton was starting it too. I mean he had that armor for a decade and a half or something like that. But my other junk is this is something really funny. I got um, now I got this off eBay for $10, a Spider-Man puzzle set with Captain America, and
Mhm.
this came out in let's see, came out in 1974. And the thing is, I had this as a kid. Like all puzzles when you're a kid, you end up throwing them away or you're bored or whatever. But they had this very same thing for like $10 on eBay back in 2001, and I bought it. And it's shaped like a pizza pie, and every piece is intact except one of them that's a little peeled off. But that's my. I mean, puzzles are hard to find, that are
Oh,
intact. They don't get used, but that's like my holy grail because I remember listening to oh, like Bad Company and all these other 70s acts, and just playing with that. And I get this. Somebody at Fun.com sent me a suit that had all this Marvel character stuff on me. I got it for free, and it's oh,
oh
it's
wow.
let me see. I'm not doing a good job of it. I got to put it in the light. Here we go. I can do this. Here we go.
Oh wow, it's a bow tie. I mean, not a
Yeah,
tie, not a bow
yeah,
tie,
regular
tie
tie.
tie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
that's so cool.
yeah, but then somebody sent it to me. It wasn't even Marvel. It was like somebody that licensed their clothing wear, and I wasn't aware they even had some. Let me see. Oh, I got
Yeah,
more
I
stuff.
currently got some indie comics that a couple guys sent me so I can
Uh-huh.
review them,
Uh-huh.
and I think that's just the coolest thing ever. That somebody just wants my opinion
Sure.
on comic book.
Hmm. And I wreck everything. Now this one, you may be able to see this pretty clear. This it's kind of dusty. I had it put away in a shelf somewhere, but it is it's two action figures of Captain America and Baron Strucker from Hydra, and also inside is a comic book that I inked. I don't know
Oh
if you can see it or
wow,
not. Yeah, yeah. So I bought it just for that, for ego. They didn't send
yeah,
it to me. I just bought it. So I mean, if they sent out merch to everybody who contributed, they would probably be out of business because, like, my work's been reproduced on a lot of stuff. I did
yeah.
some stuff uh, I did some stuff based on, how can I explain? It wasn't Marvel so much as it was, excuse me, it was Marvel, but they did some licensing for the first Avengers movie and then also the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And so I did, Scott Eaton drew the current Avengers or the ones from the first movie individually, these figures, and then I would ink them and then scan them and all that stuff. But then when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, this guy wanted me to do some work over Ron Lim on some pieces and also they got repurposed for children's books. So I would get comps on that, and but I had to sign a non-disclosure waiver because I was working on this stuff 8 months before the movie came out in 2014, and the editor said I had to sign non-disclosure, so I couldn't say anything because I knew about Ronan, and he wasn't even mentioned, way back when, and the Nova Corps and all that stuff. So it was like I'm working on this cool stuff. I can't tell anybody, and my editor's like, "Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be the biggest movie this year." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Sure enough, it was the biggest movie of the year because it's awesome. It's like
Right.
it's endlessly watchable, you know.
Uh, do you have
So
any trade secrets you could tell us now that you anything that you're currently working on or anything that's upcoming that you know about that the public doesn't know about really?
Um, I've been doing a lot of private commissions, both inking other pencils and pencil inking my own stuff. Like I'm doing a cover recreation of an old Daredevil comic, and hold on, let me get it real quick. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
This is a recreation of Daredevil 131, and first introduction of Bullseye. And
Your work is amazing.
thanks, man. Thanks. That took forever.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I ended up using rapidograph pens strictly because it's a small detail that I use a real thin rapidograph pen. Um, also, anyway,
I've always
I'm
wanted to
doing
have a
commission.
piece of art. Oh, sorry to interrupt you. I love. I can't even speak. You got me all flustered from showing me that. Um, I'd love to have a piece of comic book like that art to put up in my comic book room. I've always tried to get one,
Mhm.
but wasn't able yet.
Yeah,
Still
yeah.
on it.
I'm like, what was it? I have like six ahead of me that I'm doing because And I always let the client know that if I'm running late, because I've been going up to Pittsburgh quite a bit to see my family. Yeah, it's a health issue with my parents, but I go up to see them, so it kind of interrupts. I haven't taken up a lot of stuff lately, but I did do a 10-page story with Frank Fosco for this Indiegogo campaign for a book called The Healing. And what it is The Healing is a cult. And these are superheroes that are trying to get people out of this cult. You know, like this healing is sort of, they're trying to be like, like secular, like they try to fool you. They're like, oh, you can live this great life through us. We'll fix all your problems. And they suck people into this cult. And so these superheroes are actively working against this place. It has a ton of money in it. And it's like, I mean, as far as the cult place, the healing. And then also, I'm about a month away from finishing my third novel for Amazon. It's called The Demands, and it's about an indie band who plays in Pittsburgh at bars and clubs owned by the Russian mob. So
Oh wow.
it's sort of it's very street level. It's not superheroes at all, and I think because I don't know, I just wanted to do something different, and I love music. I love, I like my hometown of Pittsburgh. I'm in Georgia now, which I enjoy. Uh, and I just have so much fun. Also, I write the books. I wouldn't write a comic the way I write my books. I mean, like my novels are kind of nasty, a lot of f bombs and a lot of this stuff. It's just. But if I had a comic book, I would write it more traditional, but with a little bit of edge. But I wouldn't go any. I'd go like as far as Frank Miller, but not beyond that to where it's gratuitous or something. But I just also there's so many good comics out there. I don't know if I'm comfortable with the 22-page format, because the thing with the novels is I can make it any length I want, and not have to have a specific ending. So yeah, I'm finishing that up, and then I have another project that I can't announce yet because it's not. The person I'm working with doesn't want to announce it yet. He'll announce it later. So I got my hand in a little bit of everything. So right now,
And is this private gentleman? Is he a big name? Is he like?
uh, yeah, I mean, sort of, but I mean, he hired me, and I don't know. He's not like a big name, but it's just a cool project that I hope follows through. So sometimes it's hurry up and wait, you know.
Right.
But yeah, but as far as Marvel, they don't use a lot of inkers anymore. They do a lot of people who they get a lot of a lot of pencilers who ink themselves digitally, and a lot of them I'm not a fan of. But that could be sour grapes. But what it is it's kind of flat. I don't think there's enough nuance in it. So, but then they let the color. They get a lot of colorists. Some are good and some are just awful. Like they just carpet bomb the image with
Right.
if you were to turn the comic sideways or upside down from a distance, you wouldn't be able to tell what panel's doing what. So it's a little frustrating. I haven't done any coloring though because that's sort of a I don't it's that's very time consuming for very little money for a lot of people. I know a lot of colorists who as late as the inker gets the art for a deadline, the colorist really he gets the real bottleneck at the end, where all the colorists I know, they're like a club. I mean, all these colorists know each other across the country or even out of this country. And when books need to be done in like 2 days, somebody will do the flats, which is just, I'm trying to think. Okay. Well, I'll use this little toy my friend got me. So it would just be, yellow, red, stuff like that, and whatever this teal is. But to get the shine and all that stuff, the regular
Mhm.
colors would do. But this would look non-shiny and flat. But then they all flat for each other to help because they all take turns having serious deadlines, and then the colors will go in and add like rim lighting and stuff like that. Like if my hand's up like this, they might do a little yellow going there and then to that finger, that finger, that finger, that kind of stuff. But a flat guy would probably depending, I'm Caucasian, so it would be, pale, and he would just do it flat where it looks like that. But then the colors go in, add little, just little light source stuff,
Wow, that's
and
cool.
yeah, and they all help each other out. But but yeah, I can't imagine being colors because it's even more last minute than being an inker.
Hmm.
So.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop the recording. So, do you have anything that you want to tell anybody in YouTube or
Uh,
anything you have
oh,
upcoming?
you gonna put this up on YouTube?
Yeah, I'm gonna put our recording up on YouTube.
Okay,
Then later down the road, I'm gonna draw up some questions and do a interview with you if you wouldn't mind.
sure. That
All
sounds
right.
good. Yeah, I bet that's fine. Just send me a link, please.
Oh yeah, I will. I'm gonna stop the recording, but we're still gonna have a conversation. Is that
Mm-hmm.
all right?